All right. Welcome to LambdaSchool Minicamp lesson number 7, Python's full stack development. Today we're going to be going over jQuery and how we can simplify some of the JavaScript that we were doing from previous lessons. We're also going to cover AJAX, Asynchronous JavaScript and XML, or how to make HTTP requests from the browser to your application. So outside of using a form, so instead of having to create a form element, we can do some different things to use jQuery to make more flexible and more powerful requests to the server without having to write all this crazy JavaScript code. Just remembered real quick, I'm going to post something and say that we are live. I just remember I didn't do this last time. Alright, let me actually get the link real quick. Alright, 1 second, I'll be good to go. Okay. Alright, let me... Where's the... Okay, great. So, alright, yeah, so we're going to dive into jQuery and do some cool stuff there. So, something interesting about our class, so we have about 3,000 students. We're just right at 3,000, and we did a breakdown of all the different countries that are represented. And I had no idea, but there are over 80 different countries. There are over 80 different countries where we have students in this class. Let me. Okay, sorry, I had to post the URL. Yeah, so you have over 80 different countries represented here, which is pretty amazing. So, Russia, China, Singapore, Estonia, Mexico. I mean, every single continent, except for Antarctica, probably. But anyway, it's been cool having the turnout, and it's been fun to seeing just all these people. All right, one other thing is that our full-time and part-time classes, they start in, or the deadline for applications is in 2 days, and our seats have been filling up fast, and we still have a few left. And anyway, if you're interested in doing our full-time and part-time course, then we'd love to have you guys come in and apply. Our classes are, so like our part-time course, it's 4 days a week in the evenings, so like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for 3 hours, and then it's also on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Or 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then we cover everything that we cover in the full-time course. It's really intense, but it's worth it, and that's the harder that we can make it, the more intense we can make it without drowning our students, the more likely they are to succeed. We have some pretty extensive pre-course work that needs to be done before the course starts, that way we can hit the ground running. We start out with advanced JavaScript and ECMAScript 6, then we go into data structures and algorithms and React and Redux and responsive design, so how to make your website look good on a mobile browser or a desktop, and yeah, just everything to make a really powerful and rich client-side application and experience. Then we go into server-side work, so we make our Node JavaScript server, and we use Express, and we teach relational databases and non-relational databases, and security, how to salt and hash your passwords, how to correctly store them and keep them safe, how to safely manage sessions and have protected URLs behind your authentication walls, and how to do all that, all those sorts of things. And then we get into mobile development, and so we have 2 different projects that we'll do on mobile development, and so how to use React Native, and so by the end of that you'll be able to build some simple mobile applications, either for iOS or Android. And then after that, we're going to dive into an introduction to machine learning, and just to kind of give you a taste of it if you want to keep pursuing that after the course. And so we'll play around with neural networks and how to use that and plug that into our server and how to create some cool features for any applications that you build. After that, we have project periods, and so you work on building your portfolio. And then after the portfolio period, we'll be doing job support. And so we are totally committed to every single one of our students, and we will help you write a resume, we'll help you do interview prep and practice answering interview questions. We're going to help you leverage your social media and do the things to apply to jobs and find opportunities and even help you with salary support or with salary negotiation. And the support continues indefinitely after the course, and you can always come back to us and we'll help you work on different portfolio things, help you find ways to practice and improve your skills, and then help refine your interview techniques to help you find a job and help you improve your career. So those are our classes. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to take that elite coding bootcamp atmosphere and put it online and get it out to everyone regardless of where you live, because a lot of people they don't have the time, they don't have the resources to be able to drop what they're doing and move to downtown San Francisco for 3 months. And so we're trying to project that elite coding bootcamp experience across the world. So anyway, if you're interested or have any friends that are interested, we'd love to have you come and apply. All right, so now I'm going to dive into our jQuery. I'm going to show you the project. You're going to be starting from a like a pre-built. You'll have a pre-built API that you'll be working with. So, all right, display capture. Okay. All right, so let me jump into here. Okay, so this is our, so the folder's called jQuery, because that's the lesson. But this is just our project directory. We have a static folder, a templates folder, we have our virtual environment set up. Those are all the things that you guys are used to. We have an initdb Python script. So if you look in here, we're creating a table called posts. And so the posts are like blog posts. So that's like what this is. We have a table for blog posts. And so we have an author column, a title column, a body column, a likes column that's an integer. So like you can upvote or like or heart or whatever you call it. But just we're implementing that kind of a feature. Then we also have an ID. So this will be a unique ID that helps us identify the different rows in the database and helps us be able to go back and grab the right one. Okay, so we have here's our server file. And so we have our home route. We return this home template, and then we have a new post route that allows us to create a new blog post on our database. And so it grabs the author, title, body. It sets likes to 0, and then the ID is going to be entered manually on the client. Ideally, you would be using you'd be generating a unique random ID that would be, maybe like 70 characters long or something like that. But we're just for the sake of simplicity right now, we're just going to manually enter in an ID. On a real application in the wild, you would have this be they have different algorithms that allow you to randomly generate like a sequence of characters that has an extremely small likelihood of ever being repeated. By extremely small, it's like, running the algorithm constantly for like 1,000 years, and it might happen like twice or something. Like they're pretty safe. Okay, so then we insert the post. Again, this is something that you're pretty used to. We come down here into /posts, and we're going to return all the different posts in a JSON format. And then down here we have our like route. And so with this like route, we have that's a GET request will be submitted, and it's going to use a URL parameter for the ID of the post that will allow you to increment the like count on that specific post. So it goes through and it grabs the right post from the database, and then it increments the like value, and so it just like adds one to it. So just at the top level, that's generally what's going on. So we have these 3 API endpoints that we're working with. We have a new post one that creates one. We have /posts that returns all the posts, and then we have a like endpoint. Okay, so that's what we have in our database. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to initialize the database. So clear that out, and all right, I already have my server running, so I'm going to go Python 3 init db.py. Open successfully, table successfully created. Okay, so now I'm going to close this out, restart my server. Well, I'm just going to clear that up. Okay, so we have this just kind of a new slate that you can see. Okay, so server's running on 127.0.0.1.5000. So you can replace 127.0.0.1 with localhost. Those mean the exact same thing. It's just saying look on my computer and look on my computer's port number 5000. So let's come in here and let's go to localhost 5000. Great. So, all right, so we see here we have add post, and I can put in title, author, post, ID, and then hit submit. And then I can go to post list, and then that will display it. So let's go to title. Let's call this summer vacation. Author, Ben. Post, my family and I went to Thailand to visit our friend. And then I'll give it an ID of 1. So the ID again would normally be just automatically generated, but all right, so let's submit. Okay, successfully added. Submit back. And now let's go to post list. Okay, great. So here we see it. We have Ben, summer vacation, my family and I went to Thailand to visit our friend. 0, which is the likes, that's the number of likes, and then 1 is the ID. So now I'm back. Okay, so this is all stuff that you're pretty used to. A CSS sheet is attached. That's why you can see this, that we have the white smoke background. Yeah, this is all stuff that you're pretty used to now. Just a form, it submits data to an endpoint on a server, it takes that data and then saves it in the database. We hit post list, and then that sends a GET request, gets the data back. It allows us to retrieve the information from the database. So again, as review, the server, all that code is living in memory. And so anything that's happening inside your server code, it all disappears if the power goes off. And so anything that you want to persist or stay alive through power cycles, it has to be saved to a database. That saves it to the hard drive. And so when that happens, even if the server goes down or restarts, all that information persists. If we just had variables in our server that we were assigning values to, to save our data, then we would lose that every single time the server restarted. So that's kind of that. Anyway, that's kind of that how those basic interactions work. So on the client, though, what often happens is you want to be able to submit a request to a server outside of a form. So you don't necessarily want to have to make it be a form every single time you want to send a message to the server. So an example of something like this would be like on Twitter, if you're going to retweet a tweet. And so you click the retweet button, and you don't really want to submit a form, but you could structure it that way, but generally what you're doing is they have something that's going to manually structure an HTTP request to then send that to the server. So they hit retweet, and that sends a message to the server with your user ID, and it says, user with this user ID wants to tweet the post with this ID, and everything has a unique ID so it can kind of keep everything in order. And but those kind of custom calls are made. And so, as you know, the internet can be kind of spotty with our connections. It's amazing that we can connect so quickly and so efficiently with people all over the world, but there's often some hiccups and messages get lost and things like that. And so when you send a request to the server, you don't want your web page to freeze and wait for the response to come back. So kind of like in the normal execution of our programs, the code runs line after line after line, and if there's 10 million lines of code, they're all going to run in sequence. And so what will happen is when we start to make HTTP requests, we need to make our code asynchronous, and that means that we don't want the code below the HTTP request to wait to run until the answer comes back from the server. And this is kind of high level overview, but I'm going to be diving into the specific implementation details of that in a little bit. Oh yeah, something else that I wanted to mention is while I'm in the lecture, if you guys in the questions channel, if you just do a at Swinjiaming, and so I can't at myself, but if you do that with your question, then it will pop up on my screen like a little, I'll get a desktop notification that'll pop up, and so then I'll immediately see it and I'll be able to jump over and answer your question. So anyway, as you have questions, post them in the questions channel. Okay, so what we're going to do with this page is we're going to create a posts section that's going to list out all the different blog posts. And so it'll say like, there will be like, the title, the author, there will be the text, and then there will be a button to be able to like the post, and then there will be a counter that will display the number of likes. And so that little post block will be displayed, and then they're just going to run down the page. And so if there's a million of them, and there's going to be a million little boxes of text going down the page. And so yeah, so we want this to be dynamic. This list, we can't just hard code this in because we can't just write this HTML and then copy and paste it over and over again. I mean, we could do that, but that could be kind of a pain if we're constantly adding blog posts, because every time we add a post to this form, instead of it automatically being added down here, we have to go in and actually add it to the HTML. So what we're going to do is make a dynamic system using jQuery where whenever we submit a blog post, it will be automatically populated down here. And so then they'll just run down the page. So first things first, let's plug in jQuery into our application so you can see what it looks like. And yeah, I'm going to close out some of these files. Okay, so these are pretty much the main three files that you'll be doing everything out of. You'll be doing it out of your HTML file, your script.js file, and then your styles.css file. Okay, so if we come into home, we stick our script tags down at the very bottom of the file. And your script tags, the way you can imagine it is all of your script tags that you have, if you have 10 of them down here, so like this will be our script tag for jQuery. I'll plug that in a second. But when this all gets compiled, it takes these script tags and it treats it as though they're all one giant script tag. And so it takes all the code that's in this script tag and it sticks it into a certain spot. And then it takes all the code that's in this one and sticks it in right below all the code from this one. And it does that with all of your script tags. And so the order of your script tags is very important. If I'm trying to use jQuery inside of this script tag, but I'm importing jQuery below it, then I'm going to get errors. It's not going to find jQuery because I'm trying to use jQuery before it's being brought into the application. So there's, I guess, two main ways we can bring jQuery into our application. We can download it off the internet, and then I can stick it in a folder in here, and then in here I do a script tag and I can reference it locally. The other one is using a CDN. And so what a CDN does is it provides a URL to where we can grab, it's a URL so that our jQuery code is hosted somewhere else. And so when the person gets your code from your server, then their browser will send a request out to this CDN place that's hosting the jQuery code, and it's going to grab it and go and put it in their browser. And one of the advantages of a CDN is that the common code will get cached in the browser. And so if you visit a web page that uses jQuery 3.1.1.js, it's going to cache it, it's going to save it in your browser. So if you hop over to another web page that has a CDN, it's going to see this and then it's going to ignore it. It's not going to make a request to go grab the jQuery. It's just going to grab the jQuery that it's already saved locally. And so it can speed up your application. Your application will be like kind of the same speed as it would be otherwise if the person doesn't have jQuery currently cached in their browser. But if they do have jQuery cached in their browser, that's a few megabytes less of data that they have to, well, I actually can't remember the size of jQuery, but it's less information that the browser has to go and retrieve, and so your web page will spin up faster. So generally, CDNs are a good practice, a good thing to include in your application. So I'm going to come down here, paste it in. So I just copy that from the jQuery page, and so with the source, instead of it being a local file like static script.js, it's going to HTTPS whatever, and it's going to this other server to grab the jQuery code. And so script tags can function like that, the source. They can go and grab information from other places. So, all right, so it's going to go and grab that information, and then so now jQuery will be available to us inside of the script tag. So that was weird. Okay, so now I'm going to come in here into script, and so just to make sure everything is connected properly, let's do a hello world. Okay, I'm going to jump back over to the browser, and that's Command Option J. I'm going to open up the terminal and refresh, and then boom, hello world. So, okay, as a side note, this Python homework, Minicamp Homework 7 is up on GitHub. I have to finish the README for it, and so there's nothing really to do homework-wise yet, but it is up there that you can pull over. There's a solution branch on it. I would encourage you not to look at the solution branch until the very end, but there is a branch on there that has some existing working code that you can look through and compare it to your own. So, all right, okay, so script tag is working. So now with jQuery, we have this special syntax where it's $. So a $, that's the variable name for jQuery. And so when we use $, it's a function. It's the jQuery function, and we can pass in different values to it, and it treats it different ways. And so we're doing $, parentheses, and we're passing in a function in it, in line, just like this. And so essentially what this is doing is this function is going to be called as soon as the DOM is all put together. As soon as the web page and everything is finished running, then it's going to run our jQuery. And the reason that we have to wait until everything is put together is that our jQuery depends on all the HTML elements being in the correct spot, and weird bugs and stuff can arise if you don't have the timing right. And so your jQuery is all going to run from within inside of this function. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is, if I jump back to Chrome, we want this posts field to be populated as soon as the page loads up. So on page load, we want to display posts if there are any. If there aren't any, we don't need to display anything. But if there are, we want to immediately display the posts. We don't want to wait for a button click or anything. We just want, by default, all the posts to be displayed on the page. So now, if we go back to Sublime Text, the first thing we need to do is we need to make a GET request to our server. We need to make a GET request to the server to get all of the posts. And so if we come back into, if I open up our server file, and if we look down, we have a route called /posts. And so a GET request to /posts is going to give us all the posts in JSON format. So that's the route we need to make the request to. So now if we jump back over to scripts, we go $.ajax, and we pass it a object. So the $, again, references jQuery, and we go .ajax. And then this takes an object that has a bunch of different parameters that allow you to specify if it's a GET request or a POST request. It's a GET request by default. It allows you to specify the URLs and different parameters and things like that. So we're going to come in here, and then I'm going to say URL /posts. So we're going to submit a GET request to /posts. And then now here I go .done. And then inside of done I pass a function. We have a response that comes back. So kind of some trickier JavaScript that's going on right here. And in our JavaScript course, we're going to start from pretty basic and really dive into the fundamentals so you understand all of the different behavior and the things that are going on here with promises and method chaining and all that good stuff. So, but essentially what happens is $, so jQuery, that's an object, and has an AJAX method on it. we call the AJAX method and pass in an object. The object has a URL property, posts, which behind the scenes, jQuery, it looks at the URL property and it makes a GET request to posts. And then this returns a promise. And so this method, it returns a promise that has a .done. Well, okay, so just what gets returned from this method invocation right here, this AJAX method, is another object that has a done method on it. And so then we call that done method, and then we pass in another callback function. We pass in an anonymous function. It doesn't have a name. It's just this is code that's going to run once the AJAX, once the GET request is done. So when the GET request is done, then this function will run, and then we'll have our response back from the server. And so we structure it this way because this, I mean, it could take a minute for us to get this information back. Hopefully not, but hopefully it's just, I mean, here running locally, it's milliseconds, but depending on location of the server and how far away the client is and what their internet connection is like, this could take a little while. And so so this is structured in such a way that if we put any code down here, it's just going to keep running. But, well, I'll dive into the specifics of that in just a second, but I'm going to finish out this GET request. But okay, so now we're going to do this, and we're going to log out our response. We're going to print out the information that we get back from the server. So let's jump back into the browser, and then refresh, and boom. So we look down in here, we have an array. So there's a single array, and then that array has 5 things in it. And we can see it says Ben, summer vacation, my family and I went to Thailand to visit our friend, 0 and 1. And so that information is all inside of an array, which is inside of another array. So there's multiple arrays in there. So if we go, so title, let's call this jQuery. Ben post jQuery lets us do a simple HTTP requests in the browser. ID, give it a 2. Again, this is a really hacky way to do it, but it's a little more simple right now. So we'll do that. Successfully added. Great. So now we come back, and as you see, this response, it ran immediately. As soon as I hit the back button, came back to this page, that jQuery code ran immediately. Now you see there's 2 arrays in there. And it's kind of funky. This is I mean, ideally, I guess we'd format the array on the server to return it as an object, but ideally what this would have is, instead of it being an array of arrays, you would have an array of objects. And so this array right here, it would say author Ben, title jQuery, body this. And so it would have the key value pairs, and that would be a little better way to do it instead of just arrays that we're going to have to kind of hard code in using numbers to grab the exact values out of it. That doesn't read as well, but we're just gonna work with this right now. But that's a little side note. You can tuck that away. All right, so now we have these 2 arrays of arrays coming back. So real quick, just to show you the nature of asynchronous coding, let's do, this will be first, and then we'll have console.logs second. Okay, so first is outside of this AJAX request. Second is inside of this callback function that's chained onto the AJAX request. If you didn't understand asynchronous programming, the first time you look at this, you might think, okay, this is going to run first. Well, let's jump into this. And so you see first, second, response. And so as we come back in here, this log ran first. So what happens is JavaScript, it came to this, this block right here, and this is asynchronous. And so it makes the request, and then JavaScript knows to just run along and keep doing its thing. And then whenever the message comes back from the server, whenever it gets the response back, then this function runs. And so that's asynchronous code. It jumps back into this point of execution. Once this is done, it jumps back to wherever it was. And so you have this kind of this interesting flow with JavaScript where the code can kind of jump around because it has to be very responsive based off of the, like the control flow of the application has to respond very well to the user input. And so it kind of jumps around a little bit. And so you have these callback functions where you're setting anonymous functions that respond to user input or respond to different asynchronous tasks. Okay. All right, so now we have this response object. We've spoken about asynchronous code. Let me come back in and look at the Chrome real quick. Okay, so inside of our home.html file, we have, so it says posts with a h2, and we go down below it, and I have an unordered list in here called post list with an ID. So what's going to happen is we're going to stick some LIs in here that have the that are going to have all the information about the blog post. And so we're going to like stick them in here, and yeah, it's going to look like this. Let me just write this out. Okay, so we have LIs, and then so what's going to happen is we're going to use jQuery to copy and copy and put these in. And so like right now it's all like I've hard coded in 3 of them. So now if I jump back over into Google Chrome, refresh, now you see like title, author, body, like 0, like, and so right now the like doesn't do anything, of course. And of course these are all hard coded in. So essentially we want to kind of create a template that jQuery is going to fill in with the information that we're getting back from the server. So this is a super common task that we're doing right now. This is something you're doing all the time. So if you think of Twitter, if you think of all the tweets going down the page, you're making a request to Twitter's server. They're giving you back an array of tweet objects, and then you're repeating them down the page. On Facebook, all the different feed items, or Pinterest or Instagram, all the different cards and stuff that you're seeing. This is a very, very, very common, very basic task that's you're doing all the time. You're making a request, getting back an array of objects, putting them on the screen. And so with React and Angular, it's super easy to do this. With jQuery, it can be a little complicated, but learning jQuery just to do this is a little bit easier than learning all of Angular just to be able to accomplish this one task. So eventually, within our paid courses, we go over React and Redux, and that helps you build much more complicated and sophisticated and powerful applications with significantly less code than jQuery. jQuery has a bit of a reputation for turning into spaghetti code. Like your code becomes this like giant ball of spaghetti noodles where the control flow is all crazy and it can be a little difficult to follow, but it is really powerful for simple things. But building a huge, complex client-side application out of jQuery could be a huge headache. And so, anyway, so we teach React and Redux, and that's those seem to be the most popular front-end tools right now for client-side applications. Angular is another really popular one. Okay, so all right, so right now we don't want to obviously hard code in all of our blog posts. So I'm going to delete these 2. This one's kind of our template. So what we're going to do is this a little hacky, but it works, and people do this. So with a script tag, if you give it a type that isn't recognized by the browser, then it just ignores it and it skips over it. And so what we can do here is we can create a script tag that has an ID on it that we can grab within our jQuery, and then inside of it we can just have some HTML, and so it allows us to create a little template that we can grab and reference in our code. And so for ID, I'm going to go post template, and then for type, I need to reference exactly the type I gave. So let me pull this up real quick. Oops. Let me just go to templates real quick and just make sure I'm referencing it the right way. Okay, text post. Okay, so we'll go text and then post template. Okay, all right. So then now down in here, I'm going to just write this li out, and then I'm going to put some different properties on it that allow us to reference it and grab and do stuff later. So what we're going to do is we're going to go h3, and so this is for the the title. So I'm going to give this a class of title. Okay. So now what we're going to do is let's see if we can just repeat out the titles onto the page, and then we'll go back and add in everything else. So I'm going to go in and just get rid of that. Okay. All right, so again, just to review before I jump back over into the JS file, we have script ID of post template, and then we have our post list right here. So over in our script.js, once this comes back, the response, it's an array of posts. And so what we can do is we can go response.forEach. And this is a method in JavaScript that's on every single array, and it allows us to loop over the contents of the array. Kind of like doing a for loop, but this is a little more convenient. It reads a little better, in my opinion. So we pass it a callback function that then has that then gets invoked on each item in the array, and so the posts will come back. Let me get rid of some of that extra white space. Okay, so what will happen is so the response is an array. We're going to go for each, and then that method we pass in this callback function to it. And so this callback function is going to be invoked on each item in the response array, and then that item will be passed in here. So just to show you what I mean, let's console.log post. I'm going to get rid of this response here. Okay, so I'm going to jump back over into the browser. Refresh, boom. So you have post and then post. And so what this means is that function, we can set up some dynamic code that will work for whatever post comes in. It's going to grab the template, customize the template to fit with the information that it's grabbing from the array, and then we're going to add it into the browser. So that's the general workflow that we're going to go through. So, all right. So we'll start with the title. That'll be the first thing that we'll do. So I think, actually, real quick, I want to check something in here. Author, text, title text. Okay, so I just switched up author and text. But anyway, all right, so now we'll come in here. And so the first thing we need to do, well, as one of the things we need to do is we need to grab the unordered list so we can add stuff to it. And we also need to grab the template and then edit the content. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the template. And so if we look in here, the template has an ID of post template, and so that's the kind of the keyword that we can search by. So an ID is unique, and so we can just pass that in, grab that template. And so jQuery, the jQuery function can also take a selector. And so I can pass in a string that has this hashtag post template. And so hashtag is for IDs. And so what this is going to do now is this grabs that HTML element. So that gets the HTML element from the that gets the HTML element from the HTML or from that template. So let me just come back and reference something in here just real quick. So static script.js. Okay. So all right, so what we're going to do is, well, let me just look at this again real quick. Okay, so, all right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go var template is equal to this post template. And so I'm actually going to take that and move that outside of the, I'm going to move that outside of the for loop so we're not doing it over and over again. And so the more you can limit your interactions with the browser, the faster your jQuery code will be. And so the less time you're actually interacting with the HTML and changing stuff in the DOM, the faster your code will be. And so I'm going to put this template out here outside of the for each method, and then yes, that's going to give us a reference to the template that we can use inside of here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go var new post gets and then we're going to go templates dot clone. And so what this does is that copies it. So that takes the template that we have, makes a copy of it that we can then modify. And so we're not modifying the original, we're just we're going to modify this new copy that we can then insert into the browser in another spot. And so template right here, that's the HTML, it's the DOM node. And so we can pass the DOM node in right here to this jQuery function, and then it will give us access to a bunch of these jQuery methods that we can call. So then we can call clone, so we can make a copy of it. And then that copy gets returned from here and assigned to the value new post. Okay. All right, so then now what we're going to do is now we're going to set the title. So now we're going to take this new post and we're going to go into it and we're going to set the title. So we're going to go new post, because new post again is it's a DOM node, and so we pass it into jQuery, the jQuery function like this, and that gives us access to the helper methods. So then we can go .find, and then now we're going to pass in the class name, which is title. And we can go .html. And so, and what HTML does is that that allows us to set the content in it inside of the. It allows us to set the content of that element if we pass something into it. And so, what we're going to do here is we're going to pass in the value from post, which is the array. So it's the title, and so it's going to be 1, because the title came after the well, let me just look back in the browser real quick, just make sure. Okay, yeah, so you have author, title, okay, yep. So array sub 1 is what we're going to put in here for the title. So, all right, so now let's, okay, so, all right, so we have the new post, we have now edited it, and now we need to add it to the web page. We need to add it to the web page. So let's go back into Chrome, and I'm just going to reference this real quick. Okay, yep, just append. Okay, so I'm going to reference, jump into HTML. I'm going to reference this, the unordered list. And so I'm going to grab post list from here. We'll go over into the script tag. And so post list. And then now I'm going to go append new post. Okay. And so we're going in and we're grabbing the unordered list, and then we're adding a new li to it. Okay, so let's go see if this works. Fresh. All right. So we had nothing show up. Let me just double check here what we have going on. Okay. Unordered list. Okay, so it's oh yeah, I'm pasting in the exact script tag, as you can see right here, and so it's pasting in 3 of those script tags. And so let me I think I'm just like missing a step real quick. Yeah, 1 second. Okay, so okay, done function response for each function post list dot append new post. Okay, so now let me look at post template. Oh, .html. I think let me see if I did that real quick. Nope, I did not. Okay, so that's why it's putting the entire script tag in there. So I need to add this .html method onto this node that's getting returned. So that's going to take the content. So now the template, instead of referencing the entire script tag, it's going to reference the HTML that's in there. Okay. All right. Boom. Okay. So now we come in here, and then here are our titles. We have summer vacation and jQuery. So now if I add in another one, So let's call this one JS is awesome, author Ben, post, oh, I should call that body, but I guess it's the post, whatever, but JS is super awesome. And then I'll give it an ID of 2. All right, submit, successfully added. We'll go back, and boom, so now we can see it. All right, so now we have 3 of these posts in there. Okay, great. So now I have a conversation going on with my friends. Okay, I need to figure out how to mute that. I've been trying to mute the iMessage, but anyway. So, all right. Okay, so now, okay, so that all stuff is editing. So now what we're gonna do is let's populate some of the other posts. One second. Let me grab something real quick. All right. All right, 1 second. Okay. All right, so now we have, now we just need to populate the rest of the fields and add them in. So let's jump over to, okay, here, I got a question. Do not disturb on your Mac. Anyway, where do I do that at? If you can message that to me, that'd be awesome. Okay. And then, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the rest of these elements. So let's do an H4, and then this will be author. Okay, let's do paragraph. Call that body, and then just go likes. Let's go top right. Do not disturb. Awesome. Okay, cool. Thank you, everyone. All right. So now, and then I'm going to have a span in here. I'm going to call this likes. Well, I'll actually set that to be empty. And then do a break. Button. This is the like button, and then this will say like. Okay. All right. So now I'm just throwing in, just some other properties where we're gonna stick everything else. So we have a paragraph that we're gonna plug in the content to the post. We have the author where we're gonna stick the author, and then we're gonna get into some interesting stuff with the likes and the like button. That's a little more complex. So all right. So now we're gonna come in here back into scripts, and then let's, we're going to reuse this line a couple times. And so now we're going to go to author, and then we're going to set that to 0. And then let's come do this again, and then we're going to do, I called it body. And then that's going to be the second field. And then let's go to likes, and then likes. Great. Okay, so now that should pop everything in. Okay, so now let's jump back into the browser and test this out. My server must be taking a moment to load. Okay, there we go. Great, so now our posts, and so likes and everything is 0, but yeah, so now what we need to do is to make this like button. Okay. So as we come into here, one of the things that we have to do is we have to add an event listener to the button. And so what the button does, yeah, so you have to add this event listener to the button. And what that event listener is going to do is it's going to listen for any time a user clicks on the button. And it's essentially we're attaching a function to the button, and we're going to say whenever someone clicks on this button, then you're going to run this JavaScript function. And so jQuery makes it really easy to attach these event listeners to different HTML elements. And so right now we're going to attach an on-click event listener to that button that's on there. So so right here we're going to grab this. We're going to go new post dot find, and we're going to reference the like button. Okay, let me make sure those match up. Like button, yep, okay. So instead of .html or whatever, it's going to be .on, and we're going to say click. So when we detect a click event on this button, then we're going to attach this function to it. Okay, so then within this function, so let's just to make sure that's working, let's log out a little message in the console. So I'm gonna get rid of this. Okay, so now let's jump back into the browser. Let's refresh. And again, it's taking a while to reload. I wonder if something's going on weird with this. Shoot, is my internet connection? Ah, frick. Son of a gun. Shoot. Hello? All right. The stream died. Okay. Is it going now? Video output low. Crap. All right. Maybe I'll record and then send out a part 2 in just a minute. How does that sound? Okay. Great. Yeah, that's disadvantage to living in the mountains. So I figured it would work. Okay. All right. I'm gonna kill this. Okay. Sounds good. Awesome. Bye.